welcome everybody to another great episode of Real Life Matters. Of course, I'm your host, DBoss. And of course, if you want to subscribe to Caribvision, you can go to the Caribvision website and you could do that. We're featured in 28 different countries, and that's including the UK, and of course on BellFibe, which is offered in Canada. And you can get it through various streams like Nonstop Media in the US, or if they have cable or cable channel, you look for Caribvision. So, and if you hadn't seen any of my past episodes, you could share, like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, DBoss Networks, and you could see all the guests, and you can watch, even the current guests can watch themselves there on, it's available there for them so they could see their story, because sometimes they won't be able to catch it on the actual TV. So we're on TV where people watching the Caribbean. The head office is in Barbados. And that's where, I'm lucky. Well, that's where my parents come from, but it's that they are streaming all over. They're in Trinidad, they're in St. Vincent, they're in Montserrat, they're in St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Jamaica, they're in St. Martins. They're all in the Caribbean, so you cannot skip on me with Caribvision. But anyways, the past few weeks I've been giving some tips. Laughing and laughter, having laughter in your life is healthy for you. So I encourage everybody to laugh every day, because it lowers your blood pressure. It takes the stress off. And even if you're healing, your body's healing, you need to laugh to heal. You need, if you want to warm up your voice before you're going to do a speaking engagement or singing, you can warm up your vocal cords. And even it also tones your abs. So a lot of people like that one, that it tones your abs, but you got to laugh every day. And if you don't have anybody to laugh with, you could just turn on something funny and watch something. They even have laughing classes that people go to for 20 to 30 minutes so they could just laugh and release the stress, and you'll feel better. But anyways, enough on that. I have a wonderful woman here today, and she is a a multi-Canadian winning author. She writes for books for children, young adults, and it also is in different languages. She does her books in, so she's very busy, and she's also run a lot of awards, a lot of stuff. So if people do want to engage with her and know what she's going to be doing. So with no other further ado, we're gonna find out about her whole journey, and what she wrote a book about a buffalo, and we're gonna find out from her all of that. So with no other further ado, introduce to you Judith Silverthorne of Silverlight Productions.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for the great introduction.
That was a big thing there. We had to tell you who, and you're also Indigenous, correct?
No, I'm not, actually.
You're not? Okay.
No.
All right.
Yeah. No, I work very closely with a lot of Indigenous people, and I did with okay. My Buffalo book, and I continue to do so. Mm-hmm.
All right. So can you tell everybody what's your background and your culture? Everybody likes to know everybody's background here at Real Life Matters so they can relate.
Right. Well, I started out on a farm in southeastern Saskatchewan, moved to the city, I guess, probably when I was about 6, but I still was back and forth to the farm. My grandparents, all my family was from the farm and stuff. So I love the prairies. I love the rural life. I love nature, and it shows up in everything that I do and that I write. And so all of my books have something like that in it. There's only one, I guess, that's totally not set anywhere in Canada, and otherwise it's and I love the people, and I love learning about new cultures and stuff. I do a lot of traveling in that as well. So I guess I've always been a writer. I kind of was born that.
I'm from Saskatchewan, so you did things on Saskatchewan. I'm born in Saskatchewan also, so people didn't know. So and my dad, he still lives out there. So in Moose Jaw, good old Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Well,
all.
I'm from Regina, only 40 kilometers away or so. So it's close by. Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
not. It's cold up there. The prairies, but everything is spread out, and a lot of people were saying off air they don't like the cold, the winters down there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It
they
can get
deal with
pretty
it.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Pretty
I don't know
cool.
why we keep staying here. There's lots of other places to go, but it's home. I travel a lot, but I come back, and I have moved away, but I'm always back.
You always come back.
Yeah, I do.
That's
I
what it
do.
says. It says they have the joke say that the dog can never run away from its home because you can always see it because you're in the prairies.
Right, right. You can see it running for days, right?
Yes,
It's still
there you are. You can't get rid of me. I'm coming back.
But we have a lot of other things here too, forests and lakes and even sand dunes and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the springs, that
Oh
you
yeah.
can get into the water, the mineral springs. That's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wonderful. Hmm.
Oh, so what made you, Judith, want to become a writer?
Well, like I say, I don't know. I think I've always been a storyteller. From a little kid, I was always doing that. I remember after we moved to the city, and there were some kids in the neighborhood really close by, and I was writing little scripts, and we were putting little plays on and charging kids a penny to come and see it and stuff like that. So I was always writing stories, and then I just thought,
Okay.
as I progressed, I just started writing books. I started writing a lot of articles for magazines and newspapers. There was a magazine, Western Producer. It had Western people, and an insert magazine about really interesting people and their careers and whatever they did. And I started writing articles there. And then I became so fascinated by a number of people that I started writing books about them. And then I turned into writing fiction. And I have one son, and he was interested in different topics. And at the time he was growing up, there weren't any fiction books. Like, for instance, it was about dinosaurs, right? There weren't any fiction books. And so I started writing them. By the time he got to a certain age, of course, I was still writing them, and he's long gone and didn't care anymore so much. But I started writing series and stuff, and I was always listening to stories from my grandparents. And I have another series about the pioneers and things that came, here. And they're always time travel, because I'm always fascinated by that. I would love to be able to hop in and out of time, different places,
Whoa!
different time. Yeah,
Everybody would.
yeah, I know. And so I have this, well, I think it's a great imagination. I don't know. Anyway, and it all ends up in my books then. So I do that. And throughout the years, of course, I got to know a number of people. And one of them was Ray Lavallee from IPPY First Nation. And he and I worked together. And because of my love of nature, and actually, where I grew up wasn't too far. There's a great big long valley in Saskatchewan, the Qu'Appelle Valley, and the Piapot First Nation is sort of on one end, and I was kind of a little farther down. And so it was interesting, because eventually he started teaching me how to find medicines and things like that, and he taught me about sweat lodges and all that, and we became fairly close over the years, and eventually he was a storyteller, a wisdom keeper, and he did a lot of fascinating things. He was way ahead of his time, trying to get people to understand about his culture and that. And so he was actually traveling in different parts of the world, like Germany, Austria, just all over the place. Well, yeah, down south here, Mexico and stuff. And I think he went to Australia as well. But anyway, he would take a troupe of dancers and people with him, and tell people about that. He also had a cultural camp here back in Saskatchewan. And I was writing those articles that I talked about earlier for this little magazine. And I found him so fascinating. So I started writing an article about him, and then he started teaching me about stuff. And I went to lots of ceremonies and sweat lodges and all of that.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so then, yeah.
Well, that's very personal, because to let you come in and experience that.
Yeah. And so when he said, the young people are not wanting to learn the oral stories, and they're going to be lost. I would really like to start writing them down. And he asked me if I would help him with that. And I was so honored. I really was. But at the same time, because I'm not Indigenous, and even if I was, we still did the protocols, right? There's certain protocols and things that you do to get the permissions and make sure it's okay to do that. And so we did that, and we worked together, and so I kind of created a story around his oral story for the book called Honoring the Buffalo. And we were going to do a lot more, other animals and other stories and things like that. But unfortunately, he got very ill and he has passed away.
Wow.
But he left me he entrusted his legacy with me. And
Wow, that's so nice.
yeah, and the family, I mean, I'm still very close to the family and the community and all of that, and they're just also so very supportive and just very happy that I'm keeping it going, because the book came out in English and Cree, and then eventually, it got picked up by a French publisher, and it came out in French and Cree, and then it got picked up by a German publisher, and it's German and Cree. Yeah, exactly. And I actually launched it at the Frankfurt Book Fair, which is the hugest book fair in the world. And so I was actually there doing that. And I've gone over and I have toured, and I've been in all the countries that Ray actually initially was in, bringing his culture to people. And I just feel so honored and blessed that I actually was able to do that. And I feel like he's still around me and guiding me and helping me to do all these wonderful things. Wow. And then, yeah. And then
why is the buffalo, you're writing about the buffalo. Why is that buffalo so special?
Well, throughout history, it has been, it was the one that helped the Plains people survive, because they used absolutely everything from it, from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, inside and out. Everything was useful, and of course, all of nature and animals and plants and that are very much revered, but the buffalo was really the one that helped them survive. We talked about those cold winters and things like that. Of course, they were there, and of course it's a very spiritual animal to them as well, and it's kind of part of their whole knowledge. And then of course, as history has it, there used to be probably they're estimating at least 50, maybe more, 50 million buffalo or bison that once roamed the prairies.
I'm like, wow, right? I was reading that and I was like,
imagine that? Yeah, that's incredible. And so then about, 1891, somewhere in there were only like 1,100 left. And maybe even
after all those buffalo, that's how much was left now.
Wow. Yeah, but that was because of all the Europeans and things that came in, and they started settling, and then they started killing all the animals for the furs and the bones and all that kind of thing. And so they just kind of decimated them. And there were just kind of a few left in little pockets in North America. And of course, now there's a big resurgence of them. But they're still very, very much important to Indigenous people. And yeah.
And the one that's on the book, it looks like he has on a red coat or orange.
yeah. Well, it does, but that's where they look in the fall. They grow their coats for the fall.
That's how they look.
Yeah, but in the summer they look really ragged because it's coming off, and they have to brush it all off, and they just look like these,
So it just sheds. And then they grow it back.
And then
I didn't know that.
But that's the North American ones. Like, we have two species here, the wood bison and the plains bison. And then while I was touring in Europe, I discovered there were European bison. And they're somewhat different. They're kind of related if you go back far enough in history or whatever. They're kind of
their ancestry, I guess.
yeah, they are. They're all of them are kind of related to the steppe bison in Russia or something like that. But so I've explored them, and then I got into this huge project about bison and buffalo of the world, actually. And so I've been traveling a lot, and I just came back from India and Africa not too long ago, because I was exploring the buffalo, the water buffalo in Asia, and the Cape buffalo in Africa, and and all the Anyway, so I'm just kind of.
So there's so many different types of buffaloes, as I'm learning now. Life Matters to learn things. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's actually buffalo is not the actual scientific name in North America. It's really bison.
Bison.
Yeah, but a lot of people over, in history always called them buffalo or whatever, and so honoring the buffalo seemed to the name of the book. We kept it with that,
Okay.
because it was more relevant at the time to the indigenous people and the Plains Cree people, and that's kind of what they. I mean, the Cree word is actually, I don't know if I pronounce it properly, but it's Pasquamustus, which is more like prairie cow, loosely translated as far as I understand it. And anyway, but everybody's now starting to call them bison here. And
Okay.
in Europe, the European bison are called Vicent. It's a kind of a German word, or kind of German Polish. Anyway, they're calling it that. But they're bringing them back everywhere there too, and trying to preserve them. But they've also found here that there are keystone species that's helping bring back the natural habitats.
Okay.
They're just amazing, and so I've become this fanatic about buffalo and bison now. but I grew into it. But they also mean a lot to different people, and
Right.
I met the Maasai people in Kenya when I was there a couple of months ago, and they revere their Cape buffalo. They're not. They don't treat them the same. Like they're very definitely wild, and have never really been kind of domesticated, or they don't
Oh,
ranch
so
them or anything.
you really can't go over to them and like, oh.
No. They don't do that, but they have plenty of songs, and they consider them the warrior animals. The Maasai
Okay.
people, the warrior animals of Africa, and the Maasai people consider themselves the warrior people of Africa as well, and they have this affinity for them, and so yeah. Anyway, I'm
So,
learning all these things about all these people in different countries. And
so that is all in this book, or is it or where does this book you can purchase the book obviously, but or is it being taught in schools or education? Where is it?
yeah, it is. It's being used extensively. In fact, many universities are using it to teach
Okay.
teachers how to teach Indigenous history and things like that. So,
Okay.
yeah, and I have a lot of resources on my website and that kind of thing. The other thing that's recently happened is City TV. I've just done an animated adaptation of it for preschoolers. So City TV
Oh,
Saskatchewan, yeah, they have it, and it's up for an award at the Orton Film Festival
yes.
which is this weekend. So yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. But so the book keeps generating new interest, and I keep adapting it however I can, and and always with the family and the community involved in it, and getting the permissions, and and all of that kind of thing. But just trying to keep Ray's legacy alive, and not only Ray's, but the illustrator was Mike Keepness, and he unfortunately passed a couple of years ago as well. And so I'm kind of
Jeez.
left carrying the legacy for both of them. But I feel so honored to be able to do that. And the animation then for the TV show is based on the illustrations of Mike Keepness.
Okay.
Beautiful illustrations. So everything's kind of coming together. And one of the tours, I've done several tours in Europe now, and on one of the tours they actually did a huge display of his artwork,
Okay.
and had a big event around it, and that kind of thing. He was supposed to have come for that as well. Unfortunately, he passed before we could do it. But yeah, but it's just
What is the next animal that you're going to be researching? I guess this took up a lot
well,
of time, resources, but it's good information, right? So
yeah.
what
Yeah,
was
well, it is. I'm actually not done with them. I'm hoping to actually to find a broadcaster, an international broadcaster that wants. I've taken a bit of footage in all these countries and done a lot of research, and I'd like to be able to let people know about the buffalo and the bison and everything all over the world and the connections. So I'm kind of on that. Ray and I had planned on doing a lot of other animals,
okay.
and he did give me permission to go ahead and work with somebody else to do it, but it just doesn't feel right to me to do that.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of Indigenous people that could do that. I'd be willing to help somebody if they wanted, but it's not something that I feel is really kind of appropriate for me to just go ahead and do. And even though he gave me his blessing to go ahead, but but it's just not something. And I'm so busy actually at the moment with this book. There's
I
another.
know it. I'm thinking, like, when are you going to get time to do another animal? Because you're going to go.
Well, I have other projects, but I have one more. And what I call it is my augmented reality. I want it to be so that people will look at the illustrations, and when you click on something, you're going to actually see the real life enactment or whatever about it. And I'm trying to find funding for that. So that's my next goal with that particular book. I have other books in the works at the moment. I do have another middle grade fiction book that will be coming out later this year. Okay. Another one of my time travel, but it's more based. It's based, actually, it's about a boy moving from big city Calgary to smaller city Regina, moving in with his grandfather. He hates moving. He gets bullied when he gets to the new school, but the new school teacher wants him to find out about his family history. And he finds this little box with artifacts, and each time he pulls one out, he ends up back in time with one of his ancestors and goes through it.
Well, that's why you like traveling. Want to be able to time travel.
I do, and it's based on my own family research. I mean, I'm working on a book with my cousin that's it's almost 500 pages now, family history. It's not just your facts. Like, we've actually gone to these places and explored where our ancestors came from and all of that. And I've done a lot of research, so got that on the go. And I love taking photographs, and so I'm doing a nature book, what I'm calling an augmented reality book too.
So everything you're doing in an augmented reality, are you doing for the book for the buffalo book? Are you going to be doing like a movie to that, or maybe, some sort of, like, they can play it for like 20 minutes or so, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how we actually kind of do the movie, but you never know. That's a great idea. Actually, I'm always getting ideas, and
or you don't have to do a full film. It could be like a shorts. It doesn't have to be long, but it can go back to the history of, maybe the indigenous, the Cree, and then it can go to different places that you've traveled to show it.
Right. Yeah. Well, exactly. No, that's a great idea. But I think what will happen actually when I'm filming all this, the reenactment stuff and all that, it might end up being that it will be. I'm always getting ideas and always going somewhere in another direction with something or another. But yeah.
Well, you got to come back. You got to come back and tell us, like, where you've been, when this the augmented reality comes to life right now. So if they had to, if people want to purchase the book, and it's also being introduced in the universities, and then you're making one that's easier for the primary or the elementary school level, so they can understand, have a good understanding of what the buffalo, the bison means, and how they look in different places, because all of them, because I didn't even know that they even shedded their coats in the summer, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know. There's lots of things that people don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned all of this over the last, few years. So yeah, and there's lots more to learn, and I'm finding it really fascinating. So yeah, no, people can buy. Your Nicholsworth publisher is the publisher, but you can buy it. Bookstores have it all across the country, and I have my own website, judithsilverthorne.ca, Silverlight Productions. I also the TV show itself is honoring the buffalo.com. There's that website too. There's tons of information. There's lots of educational resources. There's all kinds of things that information for people to find. You can just Google my name; it'll probably come up, I would think.
I keep doing how much is the book if you have to purchase the book if it's on that several book? How much is it about?
It's $19.95.
Well, that's good. That's
and you can get it in it's English and Cree and French and Cree as well here in Canada, but in Germany you'd have to get the German one in Germany or Europe, I think. But I think you can still order it from the Mons Verlag is the publisher there. So
okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So are there any shout outs that you want to give to people, Judith?
Oh, well, I just, I really thank the the Lavallee family, Ray Lavallee's family, and Mike Keepness's family has been very supportive as well. But Matilda Lavallee and all of the family there, they've just been so supportive in the community, and that at IPPY for, just really embracing, Ray's book and Mike's book and, well, our book, but,
Yes.
but it's, yeah, anyway. And so I just really thank them really a lot. And yeah.
Well, you got to come back,
All right.
come back so we can follow up with you on the buffaloes, because, I've learned so much about a buffalo, and I didn't even touch the top. You only told me a little bit.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing, and I've got so many other books and so much other projects on the go. So yeah, I would be happy to come back sometime. But thank you so very much. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, well, this is great because educating people, realize this is so. Buffalo, the bison, there's so many animals that come, the ox, different animals, and they talk about how it's spiritual, this very spiritual animal to them.
Yeah.
And look how many millions we had before, and now it's down to like what happened. You know what I mean? So where are they? So I guess now they got to start to breed them so they can come back in population.
Well, and they are, and they have. There's maybe, I don't know, between 5,000 and 10,000 now, kind of wild ones. The First Nations are bringing them back to to their reserves and that kind of thing. And well, some of them have had them around for 20 years or more now.
Wow.
But some are just slowly getting them, and then of course the national parks have them. And I've been to all these different places, and then there's ranchers and that are starting to, there's breeders and there's those that are using them for food. They're starting to be used in the agricultural industry and things like that. And then of course, very important for bringing back the ecology of our environment. So
yeah, and I like to say that how they used to use every part of that animal meant something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they used it. Yeah, every little thing, food, clothing, shelter, tools, you name it. Yeah, they used it. It's that was an incredible experience too to learn all about that. I actually was at a harvesting and watched how they did everything, and yeah, it was really amazing.
Wow. Well, I think we're talking. I encourage people to go out there and purchase the book. It's only $19-$20, and everybody can, and you can get it in all different languages. They can go to her website. You can go see. I encourage people to learn about things. This is a part of our, Canadian prairie provinces out there, where they really are, the buffaloes and the bisons, So I'm pretty sure they're over here too, but they're mainly on that side, like in the prairies.
Yeah, they're mainly on the prairies. The wood bison are kind of more up north in the woods and things like that. But generally speaking, they really encompassed a huge area in North America. So,
well, I thank you, Judith, for keeping the legacy going, even though the two people have passed away, but the legacy is still going on with you. And, I just hope, they're probably looking down and saying, I hope you go do everything you have to do.
Well, I feel like they're guiding because the doors kind of keep opening for different projects and stuff. And I just kind of follow through and do what I can.
Well, you got a big response, and a lot of people are responding to you because they didn't know about this. And, for me, that's my eyes open. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about it either. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of research and get the book.
Right, yeah, well, I hope
you can read up on it too. It's always interesting to know that.
Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, no problem. And I do want to thank you for you sharing your story and your journey, along with, all the other stuff you've done. This person is not a little person, people here. Judith, she's won, multiple awards, even though she don't seem like it, for Canadian author, and a lot of books, and she has different books. You got to look it up, go and support this Canadian out here. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada or you're in the Caribbean or wherever, get the books, learn. You need to learn about what she's telling you, and you get to learn part of our heritage here. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I do want to thank the viewers tonight for tuning in here with Judith and us, along her journey with the buffaloes, the bisons. I just do, and I do want to thank her for sharing that, because I know it's something personal and it's her passion. So, you know, people just go out there. If you want to learn, you don't know, that's the resources you can go to learn about it. So, you know, just don't take it lightly and say, oh, I don't know anything. Well, she's there. You can send her an email. You can go on the website. Somebody will get back to you. If they don't get back to you right away, they will get back to you. So, you know, I just want to stress that, and, you know, and just encourage people to do that. All right. So thank you, Judith, for tonight, everybody, and good night.